right, welcome back to the Tuddle Daily Podcast. Hope you guys are having a great weekend. I'm really excited about my next guest. I haven't talked to him in a while. The one and only Serak. Serak, how are you?
Hey, I'm pretty good. How you been?
Dude, I'm fine, man. I had a great conversation with you last night. Before we get to that, you were commenting on my profile picture that popped up on there.
Yeah. What is that?
Well, that was when I was married. Me and my wife, we went to the United Kingdom, and that was in front of Buckingham Palace.
Yeah, that picture looks like really Harry Potter-esque. That's what I was wondering. Yeah. Was this like, did you try out for Harry Potter and that was kind of like your promo, with your headshot right there, your body shot?
Yeah, that was definitely me, man. But, I got to get rid of those old pictures. Mm-hmm. Does Facebook, does the memory thing on Facebook bother you at all? Does any old shit ever come up that bums you out?
Not really, because I was lucky enough, and I'm sure you were too, to we were there at the beginning of Facebook when it first started. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And at the time, I think it was 2006 or 2007. I can't remember the exact year. But, I had nothing on there that was like, 10 or 15 plus years, I still look exactly the same, maybe I got a little bigger, but besides that, man, it's fun to look back on some of the dumb stuff that I used to do though.
Yeah. Think about if you were married though, Serak.
If I was married, I would have Facebook. I swear to God, I wouldn't have a Facebook. It's too much shit on there. It's too much I can't go back and delete everything. If I look back on my first 20 posts, the stuff I would say, the way I would talk, the language, is just I kind of cringe now when I look back at it, but I leave it up because it's fun to look back and kind of watch your growth, even though it's through Facebook.
Oh, yeah. Did social media ever get you in trouble when you were in your 20s with maybe a chick that you were dating or you were trying to meet?
Not really. And I think the reason why, when the early social media came out, you had to be on a computer pretty much. There was no Facebook apps. And I think now when you can have an iPhone, you can shoot in 4K and you could, you have everything at your fingertips, you're more likely to, to maybe do something you regret versus having to log in on a computer, think about it, type about it, and then, go from there.
Now, I had an interesting conversation with you last night. Now, you're done with college, right? You took your final exam?
Yeah. So basically, I took my last exam, last math exam, yesterday. So I'm done with, I guess you could say the goal I had set for signing up for that program. Mm-hmm. So now I'm definitely taking this next fall off. One, because of what's going on with the pandemic, and it'd be a headache to even try to figure that out. And two, just to kind of take a break. But I don't know, man, maybe, in the wintertime or the spring semester, maybe looking at some, stuff at USF, maybe some entrepreneur type stuff. But at the end of the day, I feel like I've learned enough, and I'm also old enough to be able to, kind of put stuff together myself. Don't really need credentials for it.
No, I don't think you do. Now, you're wanting to. I've been doing this podcast for about 4 months now. And when us talking last night, you've got a pretty interesting plan of attack on what you want to do with in the future when it comes to providing content, no matter what it may be, if it's YouTube videos, podcasts, just online entertainment, because now more than ever, I think people are starting to learn that you don't need that platform like a TV studio, radio studio to put out good stuff, because there's so many people doing it now. Exactly. And I found your take really interesting. Can you explain a little bit on your vision?
So basically what I want to do, well, it's, one of my plans is I kind of want to, maybe have my own warehouse or studio, but not necessarily just for, my own personal use. I want to be able to give other people, opportunity to, take advantage of certain equipment. Even though I'm saying you don't need a lot, but there's still an aspect of learning on, how this works, how that works. And I think for you and me, for instance, you can go into an actual, radio studio, maybe some big FM station, and you know the equipment, you know what to do. Nothing doesn't look, unfamiliar. But to someone starting off, it's like, it's like you kind of got to go through the basics before you can kind of go to like more of an understanding of just the ease of today. So I guess the main goal is start my own studio, be able to have other podcasters, whether you're in podcasting, whether you maybe do short films or infomercial, whatever it may be, to have that, give them that access to where like, it's kind of a free range pretty much.
Who's the guy? You know what I picture what you're doing? Who's the guy that does all the Medea movies?
Tyler Perry. I knew.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He's got like
Atlanta.
a big studio up in Atlanta.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
he does all that stuff up there, and I think that'd be cool as hell. You gotta dream big.
Yeah.
So
and I think when you're good at something, like for him, for instance, when you have talent in something, like it's. Yes, use it for your own success, but the best thing to do is always to share that knowledge, help somebody else out, because we've all been in positions to where like, damn, like I wish I had that type of someone reaching out and helping me in this position. So I mean, it's not like a give back to the community thing. It's just that if you're good at something, teach other people.
Dude, I agree with you 100%. You worked a short time in radio. You interned there. You know how competitive it is.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't want to show or teach and help people learn underneath of them because you see them as a threat.
Right.
If I teach this guy how to do what I do, he's going to be coming for my job. And I've always had that outlook of, because somebody helped me out when they didn't have to, I always wanted to be able to help people out and show them what they needed. If they had questions, I answered them to the best of my ability.
Right. And that's that's important, man. Like I get it with the whole, you don't want to help out your competition, but at the end of the day, it makes you better as well. What fun is it if you just kept all the competition down? I mean, you're really kind of limiting yourself. I'm the type of guy, I play sports, I compete a lot. If I'm a lose, it's because the other person is legitimately better than me. You know what I mean?
But you want to get beat by the best competition.
Exactly. And you never know what can come out of it either. You may learn something about yourself. You may learn a new skill. It's kind of like when you have older, we'll say senior citizens who's not too good with technology. And most of the time, when you try to introduce them, it's just they kind of like I give up.
Well, they get frustrated too.
Yeah, and then you meet one that has an iPhone that knows how to do it, and it's just such a huge difference levels of like even communicating with them. So I just think you should always be trying to learn and always trying to help other people out as well.
Would you recommend, you did an internship, I did an internship, would you recommend that to people that are trying to go into broadcasting, trying to do stuff, provide content to learn? Because I think you're going to get the best experience and learn the most being in that scenario, that environment.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I think you still should go and see how it's done professionally, with all the bells and whistles and the cameras and everything that's behind it. Because, with this, like, when I was in school, half the classes I took were behind the camera type stuff. It wasn't always, on the mic. It wasn't always in front of the camera, because at the end of the day, like, you got to know how everything works as a unit. Like, you can't, for instance, I can't do a podcast and record it or video record it and then get upset that, if the quality is bad, because I should know better, because I know how to do that stuff, so that's why I hold myself to a higher standard, because I've learned to.
Well, yeah, that's how I took radio, because when I did it, I wanted to learn everything. I wanted to produce. I wanted to be on the air. Hell, I even tried my hand at doing sales and promotion. I wanted to learn every aspect of radio. And you're talking being in front of the camera. The only way you're going to get better is by doing it. Because if you listen back in 99, when I first started in radio, oh, Serak, you would be embarrassed. Oh, my God. It's so bad, man. But you build up that confidence.
Right. Yeah, it has to be bad, right? Or if you started and, no one ever critiqued you, or you didn't critique yourself, you just be kind of in your own world and, pissed off of why, you're not moving forward.
Well, we all can't be LeBron James, straight out of high school to go play with the big boys, grown-ass men.
But we can all aspire to be LeBron James.
Yes.
That's a big difference. Knowing you can't versus, knowing that you have a chance it's a huge difference.
Have you ever heard that little fact where they say if you want to become a professional at something, it takes like 10,000 hours worth of practice?
Yep.
Do you think you can learn and practice to be a better broadcaster, or do you have it or you don't have it?
I think I think you need a little bit of personality. I think that's more of just a natural talent. But besides that, there's a ton of stuff you can practice on. I think the big one is, reading people better, being able to control the conversation better, vocabulary, especially having a broader understanding of topics, not necessarily reacting off your like emotions, but actually, because remember, like the things you say, even though you may not be in front of a crowd, literally, they're listening and they're watching after the fact. So, you want to be sure if you do say something that it came out the right way as well. It takes a lot of practice. And I know, like, when we watch the news and stuff and we watch, other people's podcasts or whatever on YouTube, and it's always smooth and professional, not because they redid it 100 times, because they've been doing it for a long enough time to where it's a habit. It's second nature. It's like, wow, why am I talking like this? Because you've been doing it for so long.
Yeah, I've noticed that because I'll go back and listen to my stuff, and I feel like sometimes I'm too critical of my own stuff that I put out there, because I'll go back and listen to it, and words that I repeat a bunch, or those crutch words that use to transition from one to another.
That's a big one.
But mine is I'll say I'll say,
I say that all the time.
I'll do it.
At this point, it's just acceptable. You gotta.
No, but that's the thing about it, is that I try and think in my head, because do you believe that a lot of athletes talk about this muscle memory? Why they're so good at what they do is that they can mentally think about what they're going to do on the field, like a pitcher. Because I was a pitcher in college.
Okay.
When you're thinking about where you're throwing the ball, and you don't have to tell your body what to do, it just does it because it's done it. It's done it so many times that allows you to concentrate. So I'm working on trying to get that word out of my vocabulary until it becomes muscle memory almost to a point.
It's tough though, because it's not only that you say it, you hear it a lot too. So when you hear it a lot and you say it, it just, it makes it twice as hard. I mean, I think the whole word, I think it's at this point, I mean, I guess it just depends on your audience, but I think it's pretty acceptable for now, because it's almost a normal conversation. Like, you say it every day, you say it with your friends, your family, your bosses, whoever, your kids, and it's one of those should be added to the dictionary. I'm sure it is, as far as a connecting word.
Now, but you've done radio with me. I can do long talking format. I've done 2 hours with you with no problem.
Right.
But the way that I look at my podcast is, I think it would be lazy on my part. Do you go back and edit your podcast down, take out mistakes and stuff, or do you leave it raw?
Yeah, I mainly leave it raw, but I edit for noises in the background.
You just said.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? I can see. It's like every other word is. I'm not even thinking, but I go back and I edit like I said, background. I can't. As good at. I'm about to say no. I don't go back and edit.
I'm messing.
Period.
I'm messing with you.
No, I go back and I fix the little stuff on the audio. I usually just like to keep it raw, because as of the whole pandemic started, we can't be in the
studio.
Exactly. So when we're recording, it's like we can't really stop recording. You get what I mean? It just goes. But if there was ever a part where someone said something that they truly regret, or if somebody sneezed, or somebody else, the phone rang or something like that, I'd edit that stuff out.
All right. I need to talk about this, and this is recorded if you don't want to talk about it. I was talking with you last night, and you were smoking a hookah.
Yeah.
Mr. Health Man.
I love hookahs. That's
Now
like my
explain
only weak part.
what is the fascination? Why do people explain to me, like, because I don't know anything about hookahs. Explain to me what people like about it.
It's just like flavored tobacco, and it's more of a you smoke it more in a chill, relaxing environment, maybe with a couple friends or stuff like that. It's like almost coffee, but at night, but doesn't give you no caffeine. So and the reason I've been smoking a lot lately, to be honest with you, is I went sober from January to end of June.
Yeah.
And then this month I pretty much fucked up. So, but a lot of times when you get rid of, I'm sure you know this, when you get rid of one habit, you tend to pick up another one.
I'm the king of addiction. I do everything to extreme. Even the healthy shit that I do comes back to hurt me.
But that's not a terrible thing, because I kind of have that same issue. But with that being said, you know that you can go cold turkey because you're that type of person. If you can easily get addicted, you can easily get unaddicted. It works both ways. So with the hookah, it's just like it's relaxing. It's nighttime. You put on a movie and and it's a flavored tobacco, and it doesn't really. I mean, I've never smoked a cigarette in my life, but I have smoked like a black and mild before.
Yeah,
and it's not as harsh. Maybe I'm just saying that because my young lungs are used to it now. But yeah, it's just it's enjoyable. But probably within the next month or so, I'll probably kick that habit too. Yeah.
Now, so what are you on a dry streak again, or are you still having a few drinks?
I'm still am. I'm gonna start again in August. I always like having like a starting point and like an ending point, because if I don't, then I don't think I'm disciplined enough to just be like, all right, today's the day. No, it's, hey, August 1st you do this, and then January 1st you stop that or you add that.
It's nothing or everything for me.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do that cold turkey shit. It's really, really hard for me.
At least you're in Volusia County. That's the big thing. Like, you're not around. I mean, I don't know if you are, but I would assume you're not around a big city where there's a bar on every corner and you can walk. Everything's walking distance. So you're in the right environment and in the right mindset. So that's definitely a plus.
See, but my deal is I'll get if I get into a mood, I will get my hands on any goddamn thing I can to change my mind. Mm-hmm. So I'll buy some goddamn spice or something, some fucking synthetic marijuana.
Do you smoke weed?
Yeah, I mean, I do smoke weed, yeah, but.
So that's a good alternative to, I mean, it's obviously it's two different type of feelings and highs, but a lot of people use that as an alternative to drinking.
Well, I'll be honest with you. The way I look at it, if it comes out of the ground, you ain't got to do shit to it, really, like weed and mushrooms.
Right.
All natural.
Exactly.
I don't feel like those should be illegal at all. I mean, look at alcohol and tobacco. That stuff is far more dangerous than marijuana all day long.
Yeah, but the companies got the big money to pay the big bucks to keep it legal,
Well, yeah.
If there was a giant if the cartels in Colombia and in Mexico, if that was like a legal business, then we would be legal here. Or if that business was a business that started here, it'd probably be legal.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look at it. I mean, Prohibition, they got rid of alcohol at one point.
Can you believe that happened? Like, at one point in time, you couldn't buy alcohol.
Yeah, but they changed that because they realized that since they made alcohol illegal, it created organized crime, the mafia.
And people don't understand, like, it doesn't matter what you try to make legal or illegal or you try to take away. If somebody wants it, they're going to figure out a way to get it, period. Like, hell, they might even make it themselves. So it's just, the more you try to take, it's just as much pushback.
All right, I wanted to ask you about this. Kanye West, what is your take on him? Now, you want me to think? I think he's perfectly fine. Kanye,
you think he's 100% normal? Like, nothing?
He is, well, no, all celebrities are fucked up.
Yeah,
no matter, even if it's just a little bit. But what I'm saying is, he is the ultimate promoter. Mm-hmm. He's one of those guys that does not give a damn. Listen, he's married to a woman that started the empire from a sex tape. He does not give a fuck what type of promotion he's getting, and I think this is all just a ploy.
Yeah, it's hard to say because I was a fan of Kanye. Well, I still am. I don't hate. If I'm a fan of your music, I'm not gonna hate you before whatever you do, on the political side. That's your business. But, watching him go from when he first started years
His
back.
first couple of albums were magical.
Exactly. When you could just tell he was just happy to be doing it. He was happy to be there. And then a few years, it just shifted from, you could say it's when, him and the Kardashians, got married or got together, kind of went off the deep end. But on the other side of thing, when you marry Kardashian or just the reputation, and I don't even know these people, and to be honest, they're probably great fucking people, but when you're in the media and they just, and you're on the downside of the media and they bash you and they bash you and they bash you, if you are associated with them, you're under a microscope. So I think Kanye does have just maybe he said he had bipolar disorder, which if he says it, I believe him, but I kind of think he knows what he's doing. I
think he does, but
his album's coming out.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
Well, the way his mother died, because that was pretty tragic, I think that kind of messed with him a little bit. I'm not trying to say I know it, but I know if that was my mom, it would mess me up a little bit.
Yeah, and it's it's so funny, when and people lose family members and siblings and close people to them all the time, but it's just when it's a celebrity, I mean, you're already under the microscope as is. And then, something tragic happens in your life. And, I mean, it's just too much pressure. It's too much, people poking at you. Can you imagine, your mother dying, and then a month later, you go on Twitter and people are just fuck you. You get what I mean? It's too much.
But I don't accept that excuse, because you look at, all right, would you admit that there's pretty much not a bigger actor in the whole wide world than Tom Hanks? Wouldn't you say Tom Hanks might be one of the biggest actors of all time?
Definitely.
Him or
Brad Pitt.
All right, Brad Pitt. How come you've never seen any controversy about Tom Hanks? It's proven that you can go through life as one of the biggest, most famous people in the world, and stay out of the limelight, stay out of the controversy.
Well, I think the big difference is they're different professions. Kanye is a musician. He has to perform, go on tour in front of live crowds. He has to, promote his brand and, with the Yeezys and all this other stuff with record labels. But, Tom Cruise is just hey, he just has to show up. You make sure he's, read the lines and, does his part, and you don't see him again. That's it. It's just, if you switch roles, it would probably the same thing would be happening. I mean, look when Tom Cruise, when he was on
Tom Hanks. I was talking Tom Hanks.
Oh, okay. But
Tom Hanks.
Same concept though. Same concept though. You know, if your job consists of you just to show up and, do the film versus your job consists of you of actually going on tour, meeting people, being on the radio, all that stuff, then you get scrutinized a little more.
Something I wanted to talk to you, and I wanted to get your opinion. Are you afraid of the cancel culture? Do you think the cancel culture is going a little too far? Do you think we're just people saying something, not purposely, but just saying something off the cuff? You got to understand, when we do radio, that's live. None of that is scripted. None of that is planned, and mistakes happen.
Right.
Do you feel like the cancel culture is going too far, that we're willing to sacrifice our most important freedom, which is freedom of speech?
That's a tough one. A part of me says yes, and the part of me says no. I think, so for us, for instance, if we are working for ourselves, and I was telling you this yesterday, but, if we're not working for a major label, or a station and stuff like that, and I'm on my own and I have access to a camera, YouTube, and, hopefully YouTube doesn't care what I do. But, I feel like you should say what you want to say, but I also feel you should be conscious of, who you're talking to. as well, because a lot of times you can have a fan of yours that you've never met in your entire life that just loves your show, doesn't know you, watches your views, and then you could say something that could offend them in whatever manner, and then you lose that fan or you lose that view or whatever. I mean, don't feel like you have to be PC, but also be conscious enough to know where we're at as a country right now, to what would stir things up and what wouldn't. You know what I mean? Because people know. When you say something that's going to get some.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. But these big companies with all the money that is being spent with them, like Facebook, Twitter. Do you remember, like, when you first started Twitter? Twitter was the wild, wild west. You could do whatever the fuck you wanted to, but now you can't, though. You really can't.
And remember the guy, the quarterback for LSU, he just got drafted. I think this will be his first rookie. Yeah, remember? Yeah. He got that flag because he had a tweet like back in, I don't know, 2011, said something, borderline, discriminating or whatever. But like that resurfaced, obviously, because, once you get in the spotlight, people hack your old stuff. So I don't think you should be ever reprimanded for that type of stuff, especially if it's on some type of brand new social media platform. Because I even look back at my stuff, because when you were talking about the whole memories thing on Facebook, like I said, I'll look back and I'll read some of my posts and I'll be like, what the fuck was I talking about? Like not even
some of them you were probably drunk. You're like, oh, this is gonna be great. I'm gonna send this out.
Yep. And some of them I honestly got, and I need to do this at some point in time, but some of them I could probably go back on and like see some stuff that would probably get me in trouble today. Like not like by the cops or anything like that, but like, if I wanted to progress, that would be something that would have to be addressed. But I am, and I tell you this, Tuttle, 100%, I am never afraid to face, reality as far as like, being accountable for things that I do and things that I say. If I fuck up, I'll tell you I fuck up and I'll take the consequences for it. I don't try to be like, but this happened, but that happened. No, listen, I made the conscious decision whether I was 21 or 20 or, 40 years old. So I'll live with it. And I think, if when you're honest, your people tend to forgive you a lot more. They understand.
So you think that is the best way to handle it? Don't make excuses. Own it. If there's something that comes up in the past, you're like, I was an idiot. I'm not making excuses.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Hey, I was 18 years old. Like, what do you expect? I'm 18 years old on a new platform that nobody has any experience with. We were like the test dummies. But now you go on Facebook. And back then, though, it was just early 20s, young crowd. Like, your parents didn't have a Facebook. But now you go on Facebook, you got, people's grandmas on here just saying all types of reckless stuff, and because they don't understand, what I mean, that everybody could see that. Yeah.
Now, all right. Now let me ask you this, okay? You look at older generations. Can you excuse some things that people say? Like the older generation, they grew up in that time. I'm not making excuses for what they say, but like, for example, a white Southern gentleman in his mid-80s. Maybe, he's cool. He doesn't go out and physically harm people, but just the way he was raised, like older white people will say, there's so many bad things that they can say.
Questionable racist stuff. No, I get what you mean.
I mean, I'm not making excuses for it.
Right.
Does that make sense? Or am I sounding like a dumbass white dude?
Well, the thing is, no, you're right. But like, the thing is we are, I mean, it's 2020,
yes.
Like we are information and the way we communicate with each other all over the world is instant. Like, I can't I hate giving people excuses for not, going out there and knowing that the world is different than when it was 80 years ago or whenever you grew up 60 years ago or anything like that. It's like, what do they say? What does the judge always say when a guy says, I don't know, ignorance of the law is not an excuse. And that should kind of ring the same with, with an older person who, may say some stuff that's offensive. Like, you should never say, you're 80 years old. Well, that's how I was raised. Yeah. You were raised from 10 years, from 0 to you moved out of your house, probably 18 or 15, given the time frame. Then you had 60 years after that to know better. So it's just, I get it if it doesn't affect you. If you live in an area to where, your grandma's house is down the street, your mom's house is here, everybody knows each other, everybody knows, from generations back, then I'm a little bit more understanding because you don't know any better. But the fact that you have access to TV, internet, phones, like it should be no excuse,
Now, your dad's still alive, right? Or is he?
Yeah.
Okay. What is his whole take? How old is he? Like, what is his opinion?
He's 62 or 3, I think. One of those, 62 or 63.
And he's a Truan or
Eritrean.
Eritrean. Sorry,
Yeah.
I didn't know but he's an immigrant. Like, was he born here or no?
No, he was born over in Eritrea. He came here in, I'd say, early to mid 80s, right around there.
Now, did he ever have to deal with stuff when he first came here?
I never asked. Reason being is because he never brought it up. It's just like,
it's just something like you're never supposed to ask war stories about people that have dealt in the war.
Well, it was the thing. It's like, it was what he was coming from. So, and I don't want to give a brief history lesson at all, but like they were, their country is in a war for independence, right? So they're fighting for their freedom. So when you go from that to coming to America, which, obviously every immigrant probably wants to come to, you are so thankful that you just got out of that war zone to where you're not really, getting accustomed to the cultures is not number one priority. It's like, happy that you're still alive type deal. So when he came here, though, he actually had a sponsor family that taught him English, the American way and all that stuff. And
what is the language there?
They speak. It's called Tigrinya. It's 3 different languages.
Is it a mixture of something like?
Well, it sounds like Arabic a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a little mixed. It's a multicultural country. They have about 3 main religions. But yeah, so he came here, and then I never really like to ask, just because you always hear about.
It's probably tough.
Yeah, I just know that he made a sacrifice so I could do what I do today, and it's hard to see that when you're a kid and when you're really young. You just, hey, my dad's my dad. But then the older I got, the more I can kind of look up the history and look back on things and and realize damn, I'm thankful, I guess.
Now, I don't know if you've told me, but have you ever been to your dad's country?
Yes, I have.
How was that? I mean, was it interesting?
It was crazy. I'm actually planning to go back next year if everything goes right with the pandemic. But he actually got married there. I went, I had to be maybe 10 or 11. And when we go, so my dad's side of the family, they all live in that belt of Europe, near the Middle East, kind of like that little strip right there. I got a family in Germany. I've been to Germany, Sweden, France. I've been to Saudi Arabia. Just that's kind of like their area. But when we went to Eritrea, we went for a month, and it was eye-opening. I mean, it wasn't what you think when you think of Africa, like villages and shit and lines running around.
Did you meet any women? Did you meet any women while you were there?
I think I had a crush on this one girl. But I was I'm 11 years old, and I had glasses.
Oh, okay, yeah, listen, you're right. I my bad.
In Tuddle, I had glasses on. I used to wear glasses a lot. And
do you wear contact?
No, I got LASIK done last year.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah. So we go to his country, and it's a city called Asmara. It's the capital of the country, and it's I wouldn't say it's first world, but it's definitely second world. They have the north, you could survive, you could probably have a decent life. But what he took me to halfway through the trip, he took me to the village, the villages, which is a couple hours out, right, to show where his grandfather lived. And man, when I say there's no electricity, you got to be careful not to drink the water, or it has to be filtered at some point. And it's funny, you take a bus out there, and it's really mountainous range. And when I say I don't know if you've ever driven through Tennessee or anything like that.
Oh, you're right off the side.
Yeah, but the thing is, there's no guardrails this. So you are on the bus, you look out the window, and it's 100-foot drop, and you can see old cars that have crashed. It's a junkyard. So that was terrifying. And then when we got to the village, we were walking, and the kids and stuff, they would do this. And I remember I was wearing glasses, so they go like this. Yeah, and they would call me Arbati
Yeah.
Aini, which means 4 eyes, pretty much. So like, yeah, it was an experience. I loved it. I got sick as hell, but I'm definitely going
What's
back.
the food like? Like, what's the cuisine that your dad's country is known for?
So it's a lot of like I wish I knew the name of it, but it's kind of like if you ever had like Indian dishes, it's more
Like a
vegetarian
curry?
based. Yeah, it's real spicy, but it's more vegetarian based. So like you have a like a main bread, it's like a sourdough bread. It's called like injera, and then you put it's finger food pretty much. You don't use
Yeah.
forks and knives, but you put whatever if it's beef, if it's some type of vegetable, and you basically roll it. Kind of looks like a not taco, but you just mush it together and stuff it in your mouth. But it's more the culture is more of a like group dinner thing to where like you'll have 10 people all eating,
Family's
yeah, and
important.
like it's one big pot type of thing, and it's cheap to make. It's my stepmom makes it all the time, and I love it, but I haven't had it in like a year or so. So
Yeah, I want to try that. Now, you just turned 31, right?
yeah, June 7th. In the
Now,
mood.
from what I get from you, family is very important to you.
Oh, of course.
Now, at 31, I mean, what are the thoughts? I'm not trying to rush
Oh, you
you,
sound like my dad. Now you sound like
no,
my
I'm
dad.
just saying 31, man. Like I got married like 26, 27, which might have been a little bit too early.
Okay.
But I mean, what is your time frame? Do you have one? If
For
it
kids,
happens, it happens.
or marriage.
I
So
mean,
yeah,
both.
I have I guess I'm somewhat of a time frame. So with me, I like to accomplish big things one by one, right? So for instance, just got done with school. I set that goal 2 years ago, and I'm actually surprised how time flew. Next goal, probably either buy a house, which I'm like determined to do, more of a rental, because I do want to own a couple pieces of real estate. After that, I'll probably get married. After that, probably have kids. So it's like a year by year thing. And in between that, I'm growing my career. Now, the only like fear, which is a natural fear that I'm sure you have and most people have as well, when your career is more not really like concrete, is amongst all that, like also try to grow that side of things as well, at the same time. So you got to be really disciplined, man. And that's why, you can't see it because I'm on my webcam, but if I flip my computer around, I write goals.
Oh, I know.
I keep track.
Yeah, I think you've shown me before.
Yeah,
But
man, I have to.
now, see, my career ruined my marriage. I'm not making excuses. I just paid too
And
much
how
of
so?
attention to it. That's all I worried about. I did, and I kept chasing that dream of getting to that level at the cost of my marriage.
Well, was that something that she knew going into it? Because I think that's what you kind of have to like, you got to have that discussion. Like, hey, look, this is what I want to do. I can help you do what you want to do, but it has to be reciprocated. Because at the end of the day, Tuddle, I mean, you got to do what's best for you.
Yeah, I agree. I was working in radio when I met my wife. I was only part-time at that time. We had already gotten married, and then I lost my first radio job. I had my first radio job for 10 years, and I lost that, and then that was like the beginning of the end.
Yeah, it just kind of spiraled out of control.
Financial problems, I know it sucks and you should not, but that causes a lot of stress, man.
Exactly. And that's why, like, when you're asking about the whole kids and marriage thing, I also want to be sure that I'm, financially stable to where I won't have to worry about that.
Thank you, because I find it irresponsible. Now, I listen, mistakes happen, and nobody, my parents always told me, you're never gonna be truly 100% prepared to start a family and be a father or anything like that.
Right.
But you can do the best that you can. And I don't think people want to get stuff in line first, because I think that's kind of what the problem we're having is, that people are being irresponsible when they can barely take care of themselves to
and it's
bring a
contagious.
kid. Yes.
Yeah, it's funny, and this is like how social media can really fuck up your mind, because people go on Instagram or whatever, Snapchat, and they see their peers or their friends or maybe somebody they know getting married, taking pictures, everybody's smiling, everybody's happy all the goddamn time, and that's what they want. So what happens is they rush, and it's one thing to rush to get married. It's another thing to rush to have children. That's like the big one, right? Because you can't reverse that. Once that happens,
it's just not you. Mm-hmm. It's somebody else that you listen. There's a lot of kids that are fucked up because their parents did not know what they were doing. They weren't responsible. They put themselves ahead of the child. When you have a kid, look, I'll never be a parent, so I really don't know.
Commitment. It's a lifelong commitment.
You gotta put them before your own well-being, and that's the responsibility.
Right. So that's why, like,
my dad was like that. I'm sure your dad was like that.
Yeah, you gotta be like it, but you know, my dad, like, cause he's getting older, obviously, and his parents, when he came here in the 80s, died before he came back to visit them again. Both of them died. Like, he had literally plane tickets to go back and found out his father died. So he's been like, he just wants to make sure, and I hate when he throws this shit out at me, but he wants to make sure that he gets to see like his grandchildren. He doesn't want the same thing to happen. But I'm like, Dad, I'm not just gonna get somebody pregnant just so you could, you know, babysit. Like, come on. So it's that's the only aspect. But besides that, man, don't have kids until you're ready, man. Like, if you notice, the median age for marriages is going up. A lot of people are getting married in their 30s, late 30s, or their second marriage or whatever. So, you know, there's no rush. You know, if you know when you're ready, it's a feeling.
Now, one of the things that pressured me, and luckily my cousin, it was myself, me, and my cousin on my dad's side. And we were the only two males. Everybody else had girls. So we were the only two that could carry on my family name. Is that your case?
Not really, because, well, I am my father's only son, so...
But does your dad have brothers? Do you have male cousins is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I do. Yep. But one of his brothers died, I believe. And then I think his other brothers, he probably hasn't talked to in a very long time. Like, I haven't met his other brothers. I was too young, or they just went around.
Why do us as men, why is that important to us, though? I mean, if you think about it, to make
because
sure you... What's that?
It's you. It's like you're passing, it's like your DNA it's a little bit of you that you can give to you know, your son, and it's the name is so powerful because it's what you like remembered by. And I think a lot of people want to be remembered, right? You want to have a legacy, whether you're a shitty person, a great person. You want to be able to, you know, 100 years from now, they still remember who you were, because if they don't know your name, you technically don't exist.
No, but that's the thing about it. You want me? You just brought up a great point. We only and I'm not trying to get all fucking morbid and depressed and shit, but we have only a short time on this earth, and that's the only way possible that we can carry on in the future. Does that make sense?
Yep. And not only that, like, it's just, you know, you want some sense of ownership. Like, for instance, you know, when I have a son, hopefully I have a son.
When you have a son,
listen, I don't care what I have.
I was going to ask that question.
I will say this: I'm probably more likely to have a daughter, just giving the number of aunts and sisters and great aunts and all that. Like, my mom is 7 of 9 children, 7 of them being girls. And my dad.
Go ahead.
And then I also have 3 sisters myself. So I've been surrounded by women pretty much my entire life.
How was that growing up with that many women in the house?
It wasn't bad. Well, we're spread out far enough to where, like, it was, like, for instance, my sister, she's 38. So, like, you know, and then the closest one to me is, you know, early 20s. And then the youngest she just turned 20. So, like, we were spread far enough apart to where, like, we had our own friends and stuff like that.
Your dad was getting after it for a long time.
Well, no. So the 2 younger are my stepsisters.
Oh, okay. All right.
So my dad remarried. Yeah. So, but yeah, now, it's been great.
Oh, man. Now, I'm not saying you're this way now, but I think all guys in their early 20s were just about getting laid.
Oh, of course.
If you had a daughter, is that going to screw with your head? Because you're going to be like, I know the way I was when I was younger.
Oh, I'll probably just abort it. I'm just kidding. That was a joke. That was a joke.
I love you. I love you. Wait, with the joke. I love it.
Come on. It's like gambling. Like, come on, just keep doubling up. I don't know. I said yeah. Probably I'd probably be a little bit more stricter, just especially if it's somebody like I want to say somebody like me, but like I'm good at like reading, intentions and just hopefully good at reading people and. I definitely be more strict. But once she turns like 18, you can do what you want.
Yeah.
Life's
You gotta
about
let her
learning.
go.
Exactly.
Now I'm not gonna blow up your spot. Was that person that was you were hanging out with last night? Is
Oh, that's
there
my girl.
anything? Okay, I didn't want to assume.
No, I'm not. Hey, by the way, Tuttle, this is one of my side chicks.
Hey, I would anything with you would not shock me. I'm not saying like you listen. You're capable of doing that. I'm lucky to get one. I don't look like you, so
Listen,
I can barely get one.
I rather early 20s. That was that obviously, especially 18, 19, 20, we were hanging with your friends. I mean, that was the goal. You chase girls, you chase girls, you chase girls. But, the older you get, the more you realize how it's really not that important. If you focusing on women, you get less done, pretty much. You get less work done. You got to sacrifice.
And I hopefully now. Have you ever had to deal with it? Like I've dated black girls before. Mm-hmm. Have you ever had to deal in this day and age? Like, has that ever been an issue when you guys have been out and about, or where you got uncomfortable looks?
No, I've never.
That's
because
good. I'm so glad.
I've always like, and I can't. I don't know. I never asked her, but I'm sure it's the same way. But that was just never a concern to me. And I feel like a lot of times.
I hope you don't mind me asking that.
No, that's perfect. That's perfectly fine. And I feel like a lot of times, though, the people that are concerned are sometimes generally looking for reasons to be concerned, right? Like, why did they want to do this? It's because I'm this. No, I just when I go out, I act presentable. We enjoy each other's time. Now, if someone came up and blatantly said something, then yeah, I'd probably punch them in the face. But
yeah, of course,
that's never happened. And I'm not saying it couldn't happen in the future, but given where we live and it's just with this environment.
Well, you're in the South. You got to be aware of where you're at. I'm not saying everybody from the South is bad, but it's more likely to happen down here.
That's true, but me, I always like going against the grain, and always, always think above that. I guess I don't want to say I'm, in denial or anything like that, but it's just, it was never a concern to me. I'm more.
That's good.
I'm more focused on making sure that she's okay. If she's uncomfortable, then I'm concerned, but if she's fine, I'm fine.
Yeah. And and like I said, I'm just with everything going on. Mm-hmm. This is the stuff. These are the discussions you need to have nowadays.
Yeah, because if you don't, it's funny. Like, man, when I went on Facebook, like at the height of the whole like George Floyd shooting, and like I said, like I told you before, I've been on Facebook since it started, so I have like a ton of, friends. I won't call them friends, but people on your friends list, and some of the stuff I saw like from like people I went to high school with, or were friends with, or cool with, whatever, and obviously I respect their viewpoints, and I'm never gonna talk bad about them, but some of the stuff was just like, it was shocking knowing that I knew them. You know what I mean? Like that we at one point in time in our lives, hung out or were friends or, enjoyed the same thing. And then fast forward 10 years later, it's like, they're a completely different person, which isn't a bad thing, but, it's contradicting when you say things. And then like, I can just think back 15 years when you did said thing that, you're complaining about. So
yeah, no, I agree. I'm glad you bring that up. We're talking about, or if we're talking about people we went to school with, mm-hmm. Why is it because we look at ourselves in the mirror every single day, and that's why when we look at ourselves, we don't look like we've really aged? I mean, we know we've aged.
So. I know I've aged.
But when you see somebody you haven't seen in a really long time, you're like, God damn, that guy got old.
Right, like, God, he got huge.
Yeah, do you think that's what it is?
Yeah, well, see, with me though, like in Michigan, like I don't know if you've been down in the South your entire life, but it's when I say it's different, I'm not saying like just climate and culture wise. It's like up north, the Midwest.
Culture.
It's a more of a you know, very depressing, I guess you can say, because you go outside, it's freezing half the time. You get the sun maybe two or three times a year. Yeah, the seasons are beautiful, but you got these big factories like Ford and GM. You got, if your dad worked there, they'll probably work there. Everybody dates their marries their high school sweetheart, have 3 or 4 kids, gain a whole bunch of weight. It's just like, I'm so glad I moved down here, because I don't know where I would have been if I would have stayed up there.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping good, obviously, but I have no idea. And I think I was much better off down here.
One last thing I want to talk to you about, and I want you to give it a chance, okay?
Okay.
Now, you worked on Bubba's show. You heard him talking about racing all the time. I am so proud, because I grew up in Daytona, Volusia County area, one of the most famous racetracks of all time, Daytona International Speedway, where the Daytona 500 is. Since they got rid of the Confederate flag at their events.
Oh, yeah. I heard about that.
The new crowd that has come around is amazing. I'm so happy to see. Yeah, because there's this football player. I think he won 2 Super Bowls with the Patriots, Bernard Pollard Jr.
Okay.
This guy live tweets every NASCAR event now, okay? And he'll ask these questions that he doesn't know about because he's learning about the sport.
Right.
And it's just cool to see the people that have been around it for so long taking the time to explain things. And I have this prediction, like a LeBron James, okay? They're going to win their championships, but the thing they're chasing as well too is to be that entrepreneur like Michael Jordan. They want to have both the wealth and the accolades in the sport. I could be a famous black athlete buying a team and starting a race team there. I really think that would be great for the sport. I will get you a ticket for the upcoming race if they allow people in. I want you to try it out. I want you to see an event. Have you been to one?
No, but I enjoy it. Like, I've watched like Formula One, and I know that's completely different. Yeah. But it's the same concept. So like, I've been to one. I forgot what it's called. It was up in Michigan, some motor speedway. But like, it was fun. Like, we were in the crowd. We had our food. We had our drinks. I mean, obviously, I didn't know what the hell was going on most of the time. But it's just, I respect. It doesn't matter what your sport is. I know it's not easy getting to where they were. So, if I'm there, I'm gonna respect their sport, watch it, and be entertained. Now, don't get me wrong. When it's like 500 laps, I mean, I get sleepy sometimes. But
yeah, I mean, it's not for everybody. But what I'm saying is, NASCAR's attendance has been down, and they saw it as an opportunity. Maybe they had ulterior motives.
Yeah.
But they're bringing in a new audience now, is what I'm saying. And I think it's good for the sport.
But I don't want them to do that because of the pressure. You know what I mean? Let's just alternate universe. George Floyd thing never happened. Will we even be talking about NASCAR? Probably not. Because I hate that, like,
But why this one though, Serak? And I'm not trying to be rude, but there's been so many of these stories.
I think it's just a combination of that happening, it being on video, and the fact that we've been cooped up inside for months with a virus. I think it was just a perfect, and given what's going on, in the political spectrum, it's a ticking time bomb. And I think if anybody,
but I've seen videos. I've seen the guy up in Charleston that got shot running away. The guy up in New York selling loose cigarettes. It got choked out.
It's because of the quarantine. Almost 100%. Think about this. When, say, if we weren't in quarantine, right, and something happens, whether that's on the news, Facebook, whatever, like, most of us are going to be at work. You know how fast news. You scroll a news feed. If you didn't see it then, it's back in the archives pretty much. So it's like the fact that everybody's bored at home and there's nothing else better to do but to be stuck on social media or watching this. So you automatically have tenfold audience than you would normally have because now no one's working. So it's just it built steam, and people probably wanted to be outside their house as well. So it's like why not?
Yeah. All right, Serak, man, I got to tell you, this was a pretty goddamn good conversation, in
Yeah,
my opinion.
are you driving? I can't tell if the trees
No,
behind you
no,
are like moving or not.
I'm sitting in my PT Cruiser
God, you still got a PT
with the
Cruiser?
air running.
We gotta up. I might give you my car. I paid it off a few months ago, and I've been looking to get rid of it. So
Well, I mean, I just think we work very well together. We talked about a
course.
lot of different things. I mean, we hit on some serious stuff, but I think our job as broadcasters or content providers, there's just stories you got to talk about.
Right.
But I would prefer to keep it light, keep people, if we just give them 45 minutes so they can just not think about how shitty things are.
And that's what I kind of like to base, a lot of stuff I talk about off of. Like we may address, if something is big going on that affects all of us, we may address it, but we don't beat it to death. Like I said, like we can't, when coronavirus first hit, like we talked about it, but then like we didn't talk about it for a month afterwards.
You got to move on at some point.
Nobody wants to hear that. Like people want to be informed, but not like forced to listen to bad news when they're trying to be entertained at the same time. We try to be an outlet, informative, and yet fun at the same time.
But that's a double-edged sword with this coronavirus going on right now. You're in quarantine, so you're not out there having personal experiences as much. So what the hell are you supposed to talk about?
Yeah, that's true. I guess the unemployment website.
Now, I mean, not a lot of people know you were a bartender. I mean, obviously.
I still work now.
Oh, you are working right now?
Yeah, not today, but tomorrow. Yeah, we so just like, with the rest of the state and a few counties, so we shut down from March until Labor Day weekend, or excuse me, Memorial Day weekend. And we opened up, but since we have food, like we actually have pretty decent bar food, wings and the usual stuff. We were able to operate at 50% capacity. But then I guess another wave hit, so everybody shut down to do a deep cleaning, which whatever that means. And then we opened back up, and we had little rules that we had to follow. Obviously, like, for instance, now I have to wear a mask at all times if I'm working. Yeah. Say if you came in, you have to wear a mask. Walking around, if you went to the bathroom, you have to be sitting at a table. But when you're at your table, you don't have to wear a mask. And it's to the point to where, like, when you're at a bar or restaurant, people are there to get drunk. I mean, period.
Oh yeah,
right. They're to get drunk. So what's been happening though is like people get drunk and then they forget to put their mask on, and they forget. It's not. I mean, obviously, I know that's going to happen. So basically, right now, it's code enforcement. Obviously, they can fine us, but they also have the right to fine like individual customers. So it's like now they can feel like, all right, man, we can't control all these people and be babysitting them, but we also need to make money and stay open. So it's nice to where like someone else is responsible besides us.
Yeah. All right, Serak, if people want to check you out, where can they find all your content? Social media, podcasts, everything.
I've been trying to.
You need to make a one sheet.
Yeah. Well, not only that, I need to I've been trying to kind of make things smaller. I feel like trying to be on.
There's just too much stuff.
Yeah. Too much to keep up with. Like, I'm like, damn, I got to post it on this. And what I'm finding, I'm trying to find the most, what I get with the most tracks. And so lately, usually it's at the Apple podcast. It's just the weekly review. And I've been working on a YouTube channel as well. Same title. And I guess Instagram, not so much. That's more of just to get, maybe a quick episode out so friends can see. But that's Serak the Mic. So it's SerakThemic. And then I'll work on a website to where like it's just a one click. And I think in total, you may agree with me on this as well. But I think to get more traction, you need more one click transfers. Like it can't be 2 click. I can't click on your page and then click on your link and then click on your video. It needs to be click video or click audio. One click.
I agree so much. And when somebody finally comes up with an app that's compatible with all social media that you can just post on one and it goes to everybody.
Well, I think it's because of the legality of it, because they're not all owned by the same. So, Facebook got to get their money. So,
yeah.
we'll see. You actually,
Yeah,
before I go, you ever remember that? Speaking of that, the Office episode, Wolf. I was just watching
yes,
it. When
yes.
yeah,
Where Ryan, yeah.
yeah, that's
And
what we need.
wasn't there a thing? He got a tweet, a fax, he got
A
everything
fax,
at one
a
time.
voicemail, everything.
So you
Wolf.
are a big Office fan then, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well,
What
I
is
thought
your favorite like bit that they did? Like gag bit? Because I have
oh
mine
man,
and it's very simple.
it's so many. Oh man, I'd probably say, dude, I wouldn't know, man. It's
All right, my favorite one, and it's so simple, but I've been guilty of this. The DVD logo. Do you remember that one?
oh,
Where
when it
it's
was
on
hitting
the
all the
TV
corners.
Yeah, in the corners. I don't know why. I know it was simple, but when you see something like, for example, when a comedian tells a joke and you thought you were the only one that ever had that experience,
Yeah.
and
And it's someone else though.
it resonates with you though, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah. It's like, you're connecting on a bigger level. That's I like that episode. But it's funny.
Yeah.
I went to and I don't want to hold you. I know you got to go, but like
No. Go ahead.
when you were saying like, are you a big Office fan? I am. I thought I was, but like last year I went to a Office trivia night at this bar. Oh my God.
You can't. Oh
You
man.
think they know, and we just got demolished. And I remember the first question he
What
said.
was it?
He was, what was Stanley's favorite day? And I forgot what it was.
Donut Day.
Oh, I thought it was Free Pretzel Day. I don't know.
Free pretzel day. God damn it, I would have
And
missed that one too.
We got it wrong, and the announcer, that was the first question. The announcer said, if you got that one wrong, it's going to be a long night. Indeed it was.
Who was your favorite character? That's a little bit of an easier one.
Definitely Dwight, probably. He was
Creed.
The dialogue they gave him. Yeah, Creed was nice. I just wish he said more. That's the only thing. Like his parts are like just really small and quick. But definitely Dwight.
The Creed thing where they were doing the murder mystery one, and Creed walked in and they were like, somebody has committed a murder. And he was like, all right, I forgot something in my car. And then he goes speeding out.
Yeah. And then he gets arrested on like the last episode.
Yeah. Did you ever watch the British version of The Office?
No, but I know the characters. I mean, because you remember they did have one episode where they like
Ricky Gervais.
Do you think? Have you seen it?
Yeah. I've watched them all, but Ricky Gervais, who created The Office, in the UK, actually appeared. Remember where they were interviewing everybody?
Well, remember when Pam was getting a new job or something like that, and it was like the same office pretty much. Yeah.
Oh yeah. But now one last thing, Parks and Rec. Did you ever watch Parks and Rec?
Yes, that's I love that show too. Like I don't know what season I'm on, but it's hilarious. It's kind of like The Office, but just maybe like a B version, I guess you can say that. But that show's funny. And then I started watching Arrested Development.
Yes, yeah. Now Ozark, if you like Jason Bateman, have you watched Ozark?
Yes, and remember, so that link I sent you yesterday with the interview I did, the guy I interviewed, he had a small role in Ozarks as well.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No.
Yeah, he was in Ozarks. He did Stranger Things. He did Deepwater Horizon. He's done a lot of stuff. Like it's crazy because I was watching the one on HBO. I don't know if you've seen it. It was called Outsiders, and I was just watching it, and then like it's so weird. Like one of the scenes, I just saw his face. I didn't even know he was in it, and he did his part, and it's just like it's always weird to be like, yo, I know that guy, and I'm watching a show I like, and he's obviously in it. So yeah, man, it was great.
Well, cool, Serak, man. I really appreciate it, and we need to do this like once a month or whatever to promote your stuff.
Hey, I'm 100% for it.
All right, man. I miss you, buddy. I really appreciate it.
Miss you too, man. You guys take care.
Yeah.